What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
To me, the Lions are the number one rankings out there. Those guys are the ones who really do their homework, you know what I mean?
But this fight, I'm telling you, it's a flip of a coin.
We did not tap.
Let's go! Let's go! We are back. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. It's been, a week on, week off, week on, week off. Music festival, get hit by a car, or so it feels like. Come back. Welcome back, my friend. I meant to say to you the last time we did a show together and we didn't realize, I think it was on the Elias Theodoro show, which this, I think, sort of the reason why we didn't realize. Happy anniversary, man.
I know.
Beginning of September was our 1 year. You didn't get me flowers, but that's okay. But we'll settle for like maybe a sloppy shoey in the future. But taking a look at the next couple of weeks, I'm pretty excited about fights in the boxing realm and MMA realm, and some of the fights that have been recently just announced. Some pretty good ones, and I'm actually pretty excited about this fight night. And I know a lot of people have differing opinions on this fight night. I think if you don't watch MMA every week and don't go through withdrawals when they're not on in 1 week, then you probably don't get this card, because this card is more. There's some good fights on this card. It's probably not a bettor's card. It's more of a hardcore fans card, because there's gonna be some really good outcomes on this, I think, and I think some bonuses are gonna come out of this. So we have Alexa Grasso against Vivian Araujo. That is the main event on this card. But I wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody in Canada and in America, any of the followers around the world. I know that we do have a splice of you 20 people. There's a splice of people around the world. And some of you don't get what Canadian Thanksgiving is, but we celebrate early. And then we even get the American Thanksgiving in 2. And then we have Christmas. So we do it right. We have turkey, hams, and some nice big meals all the way through the holiday season. And possibly make some money on these MMA cards. How you been? How you feeling? What's running through your head, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to be back. It's been about a good month since we've done a podcast together, so it feels good to be back on here and talking some shit about MMA. As like a lot of people that follow the sport like I do, is I don't have a lot of friends that actually are as passionate about me or about MMA as I am. So it's good to be back shooting the shit. I kind of missed the hour.
No one's ever really as passionate about you as you would be yourself. So yes, I hope
feel like I'm talking to a brick wall sometimes.
Case. But it is all good. My question to you is, though, how are you feeling after that festival? Have you finally recovered after about 2 weeks? And any injuries or any interesting stories?
Yeah, man. So if anybody follows this, like hardcore and metalcore music and stuff like that, it was a very violent, quote unquote, festival, and I caught a good hand to the back of my lip while I was there. I had my lip split wide open and it was gushing blood. And one thing I'm going to say for the Americans that follow this thing is your healthcare system's not the same, man. As I went up, there's a good story. I went up to the medics there.
You know what? You actually muffled out there. I think that you actually, the United States government may have got a hold of what you were just saying there, because you got muffled out. I didn't even hear what you said there. What did you say again?
I said that the healthcare system is not quite the same. I went up to one of the medics while I was there with my lip split right down the middle, gushing blood. And I looked at the guy, I'm like, hey, man, do you have something I can do about this? And the guy's like, man, he's like, you better keep drinking those beers till you get back to Canada. He's like, because unless you got $500, there ain't shit we're going to do for you here. And I'm like, that's when I knew I wasn't in Canada anymore. So
you weren't in Canada anymore.
But no,
so basically you took a spinning back fist to the lip is what you're telling me. And you left your head out in the center line and just took it.
That's it, man. There's blood gushing down my face. I had a smile on my face, man.
Did you drop?
No, I stood straight up. I moved away.
So I might.
But, I had to clean the blood off my face and everything.
So you fight for the dollar.
That's it.
Perfect. On that note, let's jump into the card, see what dogs we can get to fight for our dollar, because I think we got a couple. Let's take a look at the card. So we have first fight. We'll go to the main event. We have Alexa Grasso, 14-3-0 against Vivian Araujo, 11-3-0. And we have Alexa Grasso, who came out in her last fight, and we know her as the boxer. We know her as the woman that's going to pull away in the scorecards because she's just landing at volume, doing what she wants to do in the strikes. And she just comes out and absolutely just threw us all off. She took Calderwood, who's a excellent striker herself, down and rear naked choke, right? Rear naked choke, and finishes that in the first round. So with that, she shows another little wrinkle in her game, able to really maybe give me a little bit more confidence in the bet. Now, I think right now the line is starting to get away a little bit. If you didn't get on some of these lines last week or earlier, you might not want to touch too much on this card, if I could be very candid. The line right now is currently sitting at plus 155 for Arroyo as a slight dog against right now a minus 190 for Grasso. I just think still, no matter how you slice it, the better striker is Grasso. I think she showed a wrinkle in her game as far as the grappling goes, and that if it goes to the floor, although Arroyo does have, solid grappling chops as well too, I think she'll be able to handle it and get it back to where she wants to get it to. I think she wants this on the feet. Although Arroyo does hit hard and she does throw a decent amount of volume, I just think that the way she lands her strikes is going to be a little bit different. We have someone who's more of a tactician style approach, who will throw strikes right down the middle and land at volume in Grasso, versus Arroyo, who just throws those sort of typically wider punches. They're not fully those wide, crazy ones, but they are a little bit more looping and leave a little bit more holes. And for someone like Grasso, who has a higher pedigree of striking, in my opinion, I think she's going to be able to find those holes. Be able to. I'm going to try not to use this too much, but she's going to be able to matador the bull. And I've been using this a lot on the podcast lately, but it really is one of the best analogies. I think she's going to be able to really press her when she needs to, but then also just sort of let her try to gas out early and matador around and land some counter strikes as well too. Get up off the ground if she needs to. I don't even think it's going to get to that point. So for me, I think that Grasso is the side right now at minus 190. I think it's a good parlay end of the night piece if we can find a parlay. If not, you can also just attack this by. It's difficult. I could see her almost winning in every different realm, so it's hard to find. We may want to dig in, and you and I throughout the week, and see if we can find a full angle on this one. Maybe want to see the scales too and see how they look matched up against each other. But Grasso's the side for me. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, I like Grasso a lot in this one too, man. The thing with Vivian is that she comes out and she's so like gun heavy in the beginning, but she doesn't have the cardio to back it up. She's never been in a 25-minute fight. And at the end of the day, like, unless she's heavily worked on her cardio, I don't foresee this going well for her. She probably wins minutes early. So if you don't like the line on Grasso and Vivian gets, like, for saying, knocked down or kind of just smothers her in the first, you'd probably get a better line going into the second or the third. But as if she doesn't get her out of there, I can't foresee her taking over in the later rounds. Most of the time in the third round, she looks extremely gassed. Even in the Caitlyn fight, like, she looked gassed pretty much from the get-go of that fight. So I like Grasso on the spot, and I think she'll probably win by decision. But it wouldn't. I think this fight's kind of hard to tackle in the prop department, just because, if Grasso comes out and goes grapple heavy, maybe she could get a choke. And if Vivian gasses out, third, fourth, fifth round, she could potentially get finished. So I like Grasso, as you said, as a parlay piece. It's a good top ticket. It's a good easy hedge out. I wouldn't attack it from any props. There's no overs. There's no submission TKOs that really stand out as a good way to tackle this one.
Yeah, I would agree. It is a tough one. I think you're sort of echoing my sentiment. I think maybe if you find a parlay piece on this or a parlay that you can put together and have her at the end of it, that's maybe the way to play it at money line. I'm okay with that, as long as it doesn't creep too high. And I don't think it's going to. I think we may even be able to get a little bit better money, actually, because just for the physicality and how Arroyo looks, we'll see if we can get a little bit more points on that coming into weigh-ins. Next fight on the card, we have Jonathan the Dragon Martinez against Cub Swanson. So we have Cub Swanson coming in at 28-12, the season bet against 16-4 Jonathan Martinez. Man, this is going to be possibly fight of the night. And Swanson obviously coming off of his big victory, where he just put a beating, and it's not popping up in my head, against Darren Elkins. Darren Elkins, everybody was looking at to be the dog in that fight, and he just beat the brakes off him. I don't know if it was as much that Elkins is finally soft and broken because he took too much, or if Swanson just went and did what he does, because he does have that power. He does possess that volume. Like when he lands that first one, he'll just follow that up. But I'm gonna tail back on what I want to say, because I can get passionate about this one, because I'm leaning one way. But coming off, Martinez coming off a win, two different styles. What do you take on this one? I want you to really dig in and take the lead on this one. Cub Swanson, Jonathan Martinez.
Well, firstly, I want to say the line's really wide. Like, I don't understand why Jonathan Martinez is as big of a favorite as he is. I can understand the perspective of why he's the favorite, because as you pointed out, like, this is Cub's first time dropping down to bantamweight, I believe. And at his age, he's whatever, like 38 years old, I believe. So it's definitely a scary situation for somebody to be dropping down to that point. But I think people are heavily underestimating Cub in this spot. I think that people take the kick that he took from Giga to be that fact that he's fading down in his career, and that this is a spot where he's going to get finished again. I think he's going to be the better striker and the better minute winner in this fight. And I think you're going to see a lot of like what we saw from Jose Aldo whenever he dropped down. He took the time. He's doing this properly. His last fight was quite some time ago. And I think he'll be able to put a beating on Jonathan Martinez. You know, maybe a controversial opinion considering he's a 2-1 underdog. But another angle I like in this fight is honestly, I like violence because Jonathan Martinez is very hittable. And with Cub Swanson, he's been finishing pretty much every single one of his losses. So I think that covers you from both ends. Fight doesn't go the distance right now, sitting at plus 110. And the under 2.5 is sitting at plus 130. These are two spots I personally like. And Cub Swanson by TKO is sitting at plus 500. So there's lots of plus money spots and good ways to angle this fight that I personally like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to agree, man. I think that we know that Swanson does definitely go out on his shield, but if we look at it, I just think that with the strength of schedule, like I'm normally on Martinez. You know, I normally like Martinez because he is sound. He is a steady. He like is striking the way he is. You don't realize, and all of a sudden he's ahead in the scorecards. He's picking you apart. You're trying to play catch up, and then you play right into his hands. He's a guy I always back. He really is, just not in this case. And I'm going to see where the cards go, or where the weigh-ins go, and everything else, and where the line goes. It may end up going in Swanson. Like a lot of people might be jumping on Swanson just for name value. But man, he hits hard, and I just think that he hits precise. He hits hard, and I know that like you were saying, he does get finished. The under is nice, but I'm just going to go with Swanson as a dog right now. Is it one of my official plays? I'm not saying that yet, but he's going to be my pick on this one. Whether there's going to be units thrown at it, I don't know, but definitely I'm gonna go with the style of Swanson. I think when you have bets like that are still performing, like a Jim Miller, and you're getting some value on them, you got to take it. That's the way I look at it, right? It's hard to fade Martinez because I've backed him in the past, but I just think stylistically, I know that Martinez may pull away a little bit at points, but I just think that if Swanson touches him, it could be a problem. Give me Swanson, give me the dog. Next fight on the card, we have Askarov against Brandon Royval. This fight could be potential. Well, I mean, every fight that Brandon Royval is, it's pretty much chaos. And really, when we look at it, man, Askarov is somebody that I made money off of last night, because if you watch him in tape, he gets hit a lot. And then he's not a guy that necessarily gasses in a way that where he'll gas and he's like totally done, but he'll gas and he loses some of his volume. He'll gas and he'll lose a little bit more mustard on his strikes. And I mean, naturally, I think that's going to happen to almost every guy. But I just think that Royval is not a good mix for this guy. And, you know, I don't really fully have a side yet, and I'm trying to dig in a little bit more on tape on this one. But I just think that with what I saw in Kai Kara France being a dog in the last fight, I think Royval has even more of an elixir to, like, maybe the power's not there as much, so he's not going to touch him as much there. But I just think if he drags it into deep waters and scrambles enough off the ground and you know, gets Askarov a little bit more tired, I just don't know where this goes, man. I think it could go back and forth. And when you're going to give me some dog money, which I don't have it open yet, but we will see. What's the line currently sitting at right now?
Sorry, I was muted there. Currently right now, the line is sitting at, sorry, had me Victor Henry here. The line is sitting at minus 235 for Askar, with the return on Brandon being a plus 200.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know what like you'll get into your side of it, but I just think that Royval is a dog after Askar already disappointed a lot of people that bet for him last time. Could be a side. I think that he could win top control. He's going to get obviously a bunch of takedowns on Roy Bell. Roy Bell coming in at 14-6-0, and it's his chaos that really wins him or loses him fights. And sometimes he finds that his chaos just gets him nowhere. He scrambles off the ground, attacks for submissions, but really gets dominated, and by the end of it, starts to get snuffed out on the ground. We have Askarov coming in at 14-1-1, and I mean, I'm not trying to say, oh, look what I saw, but like, look what I saw. Like, it's there, man. I think that him, once he gets into the higher echelon of people in the division, he's going to get caught and tagged multiple times. I think that there's a lot of hype on him coming in, and I just don't believe in it fully. Just for the fact that he's not as defensively sound as everybody thinks. He gets touched. So I'm leaning potentially Brandon Royval, but based on where the line could go. But it's the situation where I think there's a lot of dog potential on this card, where you could look at almost every fight and say, hey, maybe this way or that way. And it's going to have to come to game time where it's going to be like, okay, this is the dog I want to go with, my dog I'm going to pick. Because if you just jump on a whole bunch of dogs, be careful, man, because you could end up blowing your bankroll and just breaking even. And what's the point? Just save your money for next week. I know that's everybody's saying that, but pick your spots this week, because it is more of a, like I said, a hardcore fans card and not really a bettor's card. So, like I said, Askarov coming off of his loss, where he gets tagged multiple times and starts to fade in the fight against Kai Kara-France, and Royval coming off his submission win over Matt Schnell. So, what's your thoughts on this one? You know, it's not that it's a crazy breakdown, but I just think that the chaos is going to be the potential X factor in this, and it's the one thing that jumps out at me. What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Roy Bell in the spot. I'm higher on Roy Bell as a dog than I am on Cub, to be honest, because I think with Cub there's a lot of variables going into it. I think with Askarov, I just think that like we learned a lot from that Kai Kara-France fight. His last fights before, he wasn't always facing the highest level of competition. And with Roy Bell, man, like the guy's in the fight the whole time. And I think something that people are pointing out is that the judges are really different on how they're scoring this type of style that Askar has now, right? And even if Askar's on top, I think that Royval is going to be the more active fighter from the bottom, because Askar doesn't have the most like pressure forward, ground and pound. And in reality, if you're sitting in Royval's guard, you're not going to be dropping heavy bombs and stuff like that anyways, because by lifting yourself up, you're opening up that position for Brandon to go for this to go for the submission. So I think that it's a really high variance fight. And if it stays standing, or if Askar gets a little worried on the ground or has a close submission attempt and he wants to strike, once again, Royval would be the more, I don't know if he's the better striker, but he definitely hits harder and he's the more active and like more flashy striker. So he'll be able to win minutes in that regard. So I think Royval wins this final day. And I think he probably gets a sub, but you're getting really good plus money on him as it is. So I wouldn't necessarily go chasing it.
Yeah, it's a cleaner striker versus the more, say, dynamic striker. It's but then, you know, I think, who knows, maybe I didn't see anything in the last fight. Maybe he just sort of, you know, got caught in a situation and went into a decision. It didn't work out. Maybe he comes out and shines. I don't know, man. I think that this kind of guy who throws volume at him and chaos is not a good matchup for him coming off a loss. So I think that you're right, man. I think that there's maybe a little bit of the weight cut and whatever that are in the way of Cub Swanson being your dog, but Royval might be one as a clear path for yourself. So something that we'll definitely take a look at, and that's why we have this talk, right? Okay, next fight on the card. We have everybody's favorite fighter, Jordan Wright, 12-3-0 against Dusko Todorovic, 11-3-0. And this fight, we know, screams violence, screams HBO bloody murder, screams Jeffrey Dahmer. It's going to be some dirty shit, some Netflix special serial killer type stuff. No, someone's getting knocked out pretty early. We know that. I don't think we're going to see a lot of blood. I think it's just going to be someone's getting KO'd. We have Dusko Todorovic, 11-3-0 against Jordan Wright, 12-3-0. I'll say again, the odds currently are sitting at plus 160 is a slight dog for the Beverly Hills Ninja against the minus 190. A lot of these fights are sort of sitting at that marker. Really, what is your take on this one? I want you to take the lead on this. I think, what do you think, and where does this go?
Yeah, like I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head. I don't think you can really anybody say they're confident in the side here, right? Like with Jordan Wright, he's just such a dynamic striker. but he also got subbed by Mark Barrio, which really is not known for having a good sub game. And Dusko definitely is going to have the grappling advantage, but Dusko's so fucking hittable that Jordan Wright really could probably finish this in the first 30 seconds. So I like everybody said, man, that under 1.5. I know everybody's been tweeting it out and everything like that, but that's money right there, man. Just hammer that. Like I said, there's nobody can say there's confidence in this one because Jordan Wright's always live.
Already parlayed.
And that's it, right? Like you take the under 1.5 and you just run with it. And you could do what you should do in every Jordan Wright fight. And unfortunately, they're getting a little better at it than they once were. But Jordan Wright KO first round plus 900. That's kind of. I went Dusko right now. First round KO sub is plus 300. I don't think there's really any value there. There is always a chance the fight gets extended, and then you're gonna feel kind of stupid loading up on a ticket like that. But yeah, if you don't play the Jordan Wright first round KO, like it's a lottery ticket every time this guy fights.
Yeah, I mean, that's always one of the live props in his fights. And obviously, we know violence is the play on this. Jordan Wright just likes to go out and basically get hit as he's trying to land one of his crazy ass strikes. Obviously, he came out with the wrestling heavy approach against Barrio. We saw how that played out eventually. I don't think that's going to be the side here. Todorovic on the ground will submit him very quickly. And on top of that, Todorovic, he comes forward and just throws like hell. And he's the same style I was saying before when I was talking to you. Like there's sort of looping shots, but they're still a little bit tighter. And when they land pretty crazy. At the same time, he does leave holes. So I think either guy could get caught early in the first round. Todorovic, I think, really should try to get this down early. Stay away from the Beverly Hills Ninjas glass cannon, from the glass canoe and all that bullshit. So yeah, I mean, for me, I think Todorovic would be the side if you had to take a pick. I get the prop of Jordan Wright first round, but I really don't know, other than under 1.5, how to touch this. I don't even know what that's sitting at right now currently, but yeah, man, I think
it's in at
really
minus 217. It's been kind of juiced.
Yeah, if you didn't get it a little bit earlier, which it's still, I don't think it's very, very nice anyways. There's no real point. I mean, under 200 parlayed is decent if somebody got that, but I don't even know if it was open there. Either way, we will move forward. But like I said, Todorovic, I think, should have, he does have the power. Jordan Wright, yeah, has power, but it's how he lands his shots that are the biggest thing for him. And someone's going to sleep early, but it won't be me. Next fight in the card, we have Misha Serkinov, 15-8-0 against Alonzo Menafield, 12-3-0. This should be an interesting one. A lot of people, I see that there's some love coming in, and a lot of people are talking about Serkinov potentially being able to get Menafield down to the ground and sub. And I mean, obviously, that's something I've been chasing for a while with Serkinov. I guess being Homer. My fear is that I take my Homer hat off, and then he takes Menafield down to the ground in the first round and submits him with a scarf choke or something. Like, yeah. So the potential is there. For me, I almost want to stay off this one too, just because of the Canadians involved and because of, you got to look at it. The writing's on the wall for him here. He's got to know that he needs to go get his win condition done. If we're looking at, he's coming off 3 losses, plus 180 dog, Misha Serkinov against Menafield, who's sort of win-lossy. But I would argue, and you would argue, that he did beat William Knight in that fight. I mean, people can argue and say whatever they want. I think he won that fight. Either way, Menafield possesses the power that can put Serkinov out. And Serkinov, as people can say whatever they want, they say chinny or whatever, but he's been knocked out in multiple fights. So I'll say that, right? Just in case I run into him. I don't want to say anything too crazy. That would suck. He's a very big man. I've been in the same room. Dude. Yeah. But with Misha, I mean, the thing that scares me is he's a wolf who's backed into a corner right now. This is his contract. If he comes out in impressive fashion, he may get a re-signing or at least parlay himself into a good PFL contract or somewhere else. If he doesn't, I mean, he'll probably still get signed somewhere else at Bellator or PFL, but I mean, a lot more value would go with, an impressive win if the UFC decided to pass on him coming off a safe submission win. I think he's going to go for the takedown early. I think that's a potential there. That's what I'm scared of. I was leaning Menafield right away when I saw this open and I looked at it. But man, I think this is a stay away from me just because of the Homer status. I want to go with Serkinov, and I don't know if that's my heart or my head. So with that, I pass.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Alonso in this fight, man. I just think that even like Misha, like he's a good grappler, man, but like Alonso's a big fucking dude. And I think at this point in Misha's career, he's struggled to get takedowns in the last couple of fights. Like that kind of explains why he's on the losing skid that he is. Because if he doesn't get the fight to the ground, he doesn't really look so good. And I don't think Alonso's really lost on the ground. We can't take much from his last fight. Alonso, I feel like even if he tries to take him down, Misha's going to tire trying to do it. So I think at some point throughout this fight, Alonso is going to get the KO. The fight doesn't go the distance right now, sitting at minus 220. I think that's a good parlay piece because if Misha does get it down, as you said, he's going to probably find a neck. And if this fight stays standing, I really don't think he's going to last a full 3 minutes with Alonso Manifield throwing bombs at him.
And see, that's even something that scares me too. It's I don't know the mind state of Misha Cirkunov going into this fight. So if there is a desperation, maybe he jumps to a submission too quick. That's typically not his thing. If you're down and he has even close to your neck, he's taking it. But man, yeah, it's going to be a stay off for me. But I get what you're saying. You're looking at it. But I think the fan in me is going to just sit back and
hope he gets
cheer on Misha and hope that he gets a big win and can turn this into something. Yeah, I'm going to probably sprinkle some. Turn this into something for himself, whether it's a new UFC contract or and I don't even know. He may have another fight on his contract. I don't think so, though. But either way, 3-fight losing streak. I hope he snaps it. Okay, next fight on the card. We have a 135 bout with Mana Martinez and Brandon Davis. So Mana Martinez coming off of his loss to Ronnie Lawrence. Before that, he got maybe a sort of unremarkable win in where he was mourning the loss of his trainer against when he fought Guido Canetti. So he won, but it was sort of went to the judges' scorecards. It didn't really look like what we had expected from him because he does hit really hard, comes in like a murderer. So we're waiting to see him sort of at the UFC level shine, right? Right now, obviously, I think that he is the favorite, slight favorite at minus 160 against the dog of Brandon Davis, who's making his second fight in the UFC on his second time round in the UFC. So Brandon Davis came in and he got starched by Donttap Askarov, like starched. It was pretty bad. So, I mean, he does have experience in the UFC. He matchup wise, seeing these two, I just think that Mana's going to outvolume him. I think that if he's the guy that we sort of are hoping for, maybe that's not a good thing if we're hoping for something. We're going to see some pretty heavy shots land early and possibly get him out of there. I'm on, especially depending on where this line goes. But if I get more value and the line even moves, favoring Mana even more or even less, and we get some money coming in on Brandon Davis, I'm going to jump on Mana Martinez. I just think he's going to be able to pull away him in a decision in a volume situation and or get him out of there pretty early. What's your take on this one? I just think that Brandon Davis is a little bit of a landmine, so it's hard to have a hot take on him. But I think I'm going to just go off his last fight and him being starched and him, he's had a pretty up and down career. What's your opinion on this one?
Yeah, I like Mono a lot in this fight, but as you said, man, it's high variable. It's kind of one of these ones I want to stay away from. I've backed Brandon Davis in his last couple of fights and came up short, and I feel like this is one of these situations where I'm going to go like balls deep in on Mono, and Brandon Davis is going to pull off a spinning back fist or something and just kind of ruin my night.
I could see that.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like he's kind of a wild striker. He also is a good grappler, which people don't give him credit for. If you remember the Giga fight, he was able to take Giga down a lot. And although Giga won that fight, he made that fight more competitive than it should have been. So it's just a matter of he seems to be one of these fighters. And if you watch his regional scene tape, you see the same thing. Like he doesn't show up to every single one of his fights. So if he decides to show up, he can probably put an ass kicking on Mono. Although I think Mono probably beats the hell out of him. You just really don't know what you're getting with these two fighters. So I'll side with Mono, but it's not a confident pick at all.
And you've solidified my stay away. I mean, even in talking about Brandon Davis, I thought you were for a second. I had tuned out for just 1 second. I was thinking about something and thinking about a breakdown of a fight, but thought you were talking about Mana Martinez, and it's the same thing, right? Both guys tend to do the same thing. They tend to not show up, and when you have someone that maybe shows up and has all the potential and not show up, not the person you want to back your money into.
Yeah.
But Somebody that showed me that I should back up the truck for and throw some money at would be Victor Henry. Someone I faded hard on tape, and I don't know why. The sharps were on him, and I still faded him in the last fight. I think because I was more on the side of Ronnie Barcelos, and with Ronnie Barcelos, it was he just got tuned. He got volumed. He got outpaced in that fight, man. But we'll take a look. So we got coming in at 22-5-0 against Rafael Assunção, 4-fight losing streak, 27-9-0. This is his swan song, and I don't feel like it's the same wolf in a cave backed into a corner as I was talking about with Misha Serkinov. I think this is a guy that maybe has been touched too much. Right now, the line is currently sitting at a plus 260 dog for Assunção to the minus 315 in his second fight in the UFC, but he is pretty seasoned as far as his pedigree, and his strength of schedule is pretty solid in Asia. There's some sketchy fights, but he's just taking fights nonstop. And the guy showed some pretty high level shit in his last fight. And I'm willing to not say he's minus 315, but he's definitely a huge favorite in this one. And not just because Assunção is on his way out. What's your take on this one, man? Break this one down. Where do you see this one going? I know a lot of people are looking at the volume of Henry potentially taking this, but what's your take?
Yeah, so back to what you said about the Ronnie versus Victor Henry, I still got some hate for that, man, because we recorded the video because remember the fight got moved a couple of weeks, right? And I was on the Victor side, and then we recorded it again, and I was like, I flipped my opinion, and I'm on the favorite now. I sided with Ronnie, and then Ronnie was the last leg of my parlay, and he lost. So I'm still better with Victor Henry. That was one of these things where I looked too much into it. But that's not the case for this fight, man. Like, this is kind of a show me and like a thank you, I think, to Victor Henry, to be honest, because he's going to be able to do work to Assunção. He is definitely somebody I would fade in the future. Not that I don't think he's good, but like, I just think that if you go to the Ronnie fight, Ronnie didn't look great in that fight if you compare him to how he looked last week. And he's also somebody that like, he didn't seem to have a clue whenever Victor started pressuring him. And I think that played a lot of factor in that fight. Like, that was the first time we've really seen him in his career on his back foot. I know I'm talking more about Ronnie than I'm about Assunção, but it's you got to draw parallels. With Assunção, as you said, man, like the guy's just at the tail end of his career. I don't really see a world where he wins this fight. And nor do I see like a path to victory to him. Like, he's not going to out grapple Victor. Victor's a lot younger, a lot hungrier, and in much better shape. And the volume's going to 100% come from the Victor side. A lot of people are looking at Victor by decision. I like Victor by KO. It's sitting at a good plus money tag right now because I think the chin's just kind of gone in Rafael. And I honestly think that if he gets clipped too many times, he's not really going to put in the effort to stay in the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I think that I was going to potentially look at and see what the line. I was going to check for Bodog to see if they have it out yet, but they don't. That double down fits right here because Victor Henry typically would volume and win a solid decision potentially. I mean, at this level, anyways. But with the Assunção, I think he's going to volume him, and then that second round potentially just land that big shot to put him out. I will look for that KO and by decision. I know I have a little bit of point, but see what that could as. It may end up being that's close to like minus 200 or something, and I don't want to touch that at all. But we will see. Next fight on the card, we have my dog of the night. So we have Nick Maximov, 8-1-0 against Jacob Malkoun, 6-2-0. Both guys I backed pretty heavily, actually. Not as far as necessarily always units, but always picking the side. I really like the pedigree, at least the level of Maximov when it comes to the grappling, but that really is it. And a lot of people are thinking that the person to stop Maximov is going to be a striker, a heavy striker that lands big shots on the feet, that finally starches him and puts him away and gets him away from his grappling game. Well, we know that Malkoun doesn't really have that. He does have a little bit of pop in his hands, but for the most part, Malkoun's going to go and try to implement the same game plan that Maximov is. Right now, the line, Malkoun's coming in as the dog. He is sitting at plus 130 to Maximov's minus 160. I don't know where this line is going to go. I don't know how I think the market's actually starting to lean more on the dog side of Malkoun. And I get it. I like the way Malkoun chain wrestles up against the fence. I like the way that, a lot of the time you'll see when you have a fighter have another fighter up against the fence, they don't seem to be able to grab up that single and then change the angle. And Malkoun does that very well. He's always attacking that. He's always trying to get the fighters off balance. He's trying to, change that angle. And you'll see this out of even say like, obviously a friend of the podcast and a guy we talk about a lot, Aaron Jeffrey. Just simple ways to leverage a fighter up against the cage and get them down nice and easy. And that's what Malkoun does really well. I think he's going to actually get some takedowns on Maximov. I think you may see Maximov get some takedowns on him. Once it hits the mat, who's the better grappler? I mean, I'm probably leaning more Maximov. If this fight is on the ground all the way through, which I think eventually you might end up seeing a sub if that were to happen. I would lean more Maximov, but if it's up against the cage and it's sort of on the moves back and forth, I'm leaning Malkoun. And there's a lot of variables that open the door for Malkoun in this one. And for me, that's where I'm going to lean the dog. But now the line is getting away from me. So at plus 130, this may get to a pick 'em. I think this is one of the sharper spots that people are looking at. Everybody's on this spot, it seems. They want to fade Maximov and jump on Malkoun. So what's your take on this one? We got the dog, Jacob Malkoun, who's going to implement similar game plan to Maximov, but different styles to how they get it down to the ground. One likes to pull guard or have more of a jiu-jitsu style takedown. One works for the takedowns out the fence more. What's your thoughts?
I think if anybody honestly says they have a read on this fight, they're lying through their teeth. I'm surprised it's not a pick 'em. I think Maximov just has a bigger name, and a lot of people maybe they're booking, or maybe the bookies are lining it because of Malkoun's last loss, which we all lost money on. Everybody was on the Malkoun decision plus 600. Yep. But you can't look at this through fucking a half full glass or whatever you want your expression to be for this. Like it doesn't. The thing is, you have two grapplers in this fight that are going to meet head to head, and if you have a sloppy striking match because they can't get them to the ground, it's going to be really ugly. Like, I know a lot of people are Malkoun, and it's definitely a dog or pass situation, but you're not getting much plus money on the one side. And the thing is, from any sort of small angle, like Maximov has the submission upside, I believe. So even if he is off his back, he could be dangerous. Like, it's just, man, I said it's two grapplers and go head to head, and whoever ends up on top probably has the advantage. And if
I think off his back, though, I think he stalls a bit. Okay. But yeah, I see it the same way you do, man. I think that Malkoun may get more takedowns. I think if it stays on the ground, he's going to have to at least keep top position. He can't really be stuck in scrambles. That's going to be dangerous for him. Maximov has the more the grappling advantage on the feet. I think Malkoun has the advantage, and really, but at the same time, this fight could happen, and everything I just said could be flipped. Right, the same way you were just saying it really could be flipped, and we could see something completely different. So, it is more of a stay away for me. So we have Pierre Rodriguez 8-0-0 against Sam Hughes 7-4-0. With this fight, we have some power in Rodriguez's hands. We also have power in Hughes's hands. Both girls can finish. And that may potentially be an angle if somebody wants to take a look at that. But we have a win streak of Pierre Rodriguez, who's now, I think, potentially taking her first, I want to say, big step up. I mean, Kay Hansen's, for me, whatever. So I don't know. I think that this for her might be one of her first big step ups. We have Hughes coming in as the dog at plus 165. Obviously, she was on a 3-fight skid before turning that around and having 2 big wins in her last fights. I don't really have a hot take on this one. As I was saying before, tape was a little bit hard for me to get going the past 2 weeks, but really this is going to be a stay away from me anyways. And unless the line, I don't know. I think the line's a little bit too wide for a prelim fight, we'll say, or an early lower level fight. So I think that Pierre Rodriguez could definitely outvolume her and have moments, but I could also see Hughes catching her. So for me, it's likely a stay off. And especially because I haven't done enough tape on it yet, I'm just not going to play with it. What's your take?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way as you, man. Like, it just, for a women's MMA fight, the line's a little bit wide, in my opinion. I see a lot of people backing Sam Hughes, and I understand why. But it's just, it's dicey for me. Like, with Rodriguez, I like her striking a lot. I think she's a better grappler. And ultimately, Like, I just think that she'll probably be able to get this done. But as I said, it's dicey, man. Like, if you're gonna bet Hughes, like maybe she gets it done inside the distance, but at the end of the day, like as bad as it sounds, it's a chalky women's MMA fight. So if you're gonna do anything, bet overs. But I don't have a real hot take on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I like Rodriguez in this one potentially, but it's not a like I feel like that's 100% going to happen just because I've seen
Yeah.
Hughes make some poor choices in the past, and I don't tend to back that. And although momentum is on Sam Hughes' side, like there's two things. I look at momentum as a big thing. That's a big thing I look at when strength of schedule, momentum. I look at obviously fight IQ, and we have fight IQ, which is working against her, momentum that's working for her. But Rodriguez has just been solid, sound, and doing what she's doing. I know that she stepped up in level here, but I think she's going to show up and show out. Same time, I'm not touching it, so that shows you how confident I am in that. We shall stay away from that one and we move on to this one. And if the line wasn't so wide in this one, I would definitely jump on it. Did early, but now it's just getting a little bit too crazy. I wouldn't suggest anybody jumping on Tatsuro Taira against CJ Vergara. His name should be the dog because he is a guy that fights for him. He is a guy that stays in tight fights. 10-3-1 CJ Vergara, who I'm talking about, plus 195 dog against the minus 240 Tyra. And I get with what we saw in his last couple, if you watch tape and then watch in his last fight against Candelario. But I mean, you know, I know everybody's singing this from the rooftops, but one of his biggest things is he takes guys down, right? And Tatsuro Taira takes guys down and Candelario gets taken down a lot, right? So that was sort of his scenario. But the thing is, he gets the back so easily. And if he gets on your back, he's going to at least win minutes on the back. But when you have a guy like Vergara, I don't know, man. I mean, what's your take on this one? I'm going to jump in. I think that when you have a guy like Vergara, it's a dog or pass with how he fights. He's fought in such close fights, and he does fight for your dollar, and the line's getting wider and wider, and it's almost a dog or pass situation. What's your take on this one? I think the wrestling of the Japanese fighter will win, but at the same time, I can't touch the line now.
Yeah.
Submission play maybe from Tyra. That's the only play.
Yeah, honestly, man, you hit the nail on the head with this one. I think the line's way fucking out of whack. I think this fight's closer than a pick 'em. With CJ, he definitely has the strength of schedule. If you even look at him when he's been out grappled, he's able to get back up. He has the cardio to go 3 rounds, and he's a much better striker. So for Tatsuro to be a 3-1 favorite, but his win condition solely, in my opinion, relies on him getting into the ground, it just makes it a little bit dicey to lay that sort of chalk, considering his win condition is him getting it to the ground. So I like Vergara in the spot. I don't think I'd get to it from a betting perspective, but I could definitely see this being a parlay killer for a lot of people.
He could win by decision, but I mean, even if you got I'm going to take a look at both sides of it. Submission and decision on one side and KO and decision on the other and see how that could play out, because there's a potential hedge isolate this fight situation going on here. I'm looking at now. See where the value is and where the line is and see how you can play it. If there's a way to get some value out of it and keep it safe with a hedge, may be how you want to look at it. So I know that, you know, and it's more on my side of things. I've been a little bit sloppy on this one. It's our first time back together in a month now. So but for this one, I think that there is some angles, but man, I think the best advice you can get, and you will get from most people, is just to stay off it. Like I would say about this first fight of the night, Mike Jackson. I mean, photographer, journalist, fighter against Pete Rodriguez. And I don't know, man, we got 4-1-0 Pete Rodriguez against 1-0 eye gouged Mike Jackson. I don't really know what to do with this. I don't even actually know if I should be talking about it or even present it to you as something you should talk about. That's up to you. I don't know what the lines currently say. I think Pete Rodriguez is sitting at minus 600 at this point. I don't know exactly because I'm just going to stay away from it. It really is like playing roulette. It's literally taking your money and putting it all on 21. Push your chips on 21 and see where it goes. Because Rodriguez could win, but then it's so low levels, it slips on a banana peel and and fouls Jackson on the way down. And then Jackson wins again via disqualification. All of you lost a lot of money on this last time. Jackson should lose this and probably will now by the law of averages because he got his one out with the eye gouge last time. Do not touch this, please. Do not waste your money. I will pass it off.
Yeah, dude, don't bet this fight. Like, there's no breakdown to it. Like, Jackson's 1-1, and Pete Rodriguez should absolutely murder him. The only thing I see in this fight is the over 1.5 is like minus 300 because they all expect Pete just to come in and murder him in the first. And he could be durable. Like, Jackson isn't I know. I'm just
don't bet this fight because if you bet the over, it opens the door to put something else on something else.
Sure.
Don't even open the door to this fight. Don't
bet this fight.
Don't crack the door. Don't leave the door open for it. Don't touch it. I know that over. I looked at that exact same thing because everybody extends it early. So you know what? Just stay away from it, man. It's not a good way to start the night off. If you parlayed the over on something or if you put money in on the over, it just doesn't make any sense. So we'll take a look quickly. Let's just do a quick recap. And I think that's mostly what I'm going to be putting out is the recap in video portion. But we have Alexa Grasso. I think definitely is deciding this at minus 190 favored. I'm probably going to have to find an angle on this one and really see. It is difficult, though, because her win condition can come any which way. And Arroyo is live. Same token, we look at Cub Swanson. I think he sort of talked me off the Swanson dog. I may still take a look at it. It's hard to really bet against him, though. So that at least tells me I'm going to stay off that one. What's your take on that one officially? What are you rolling with on that?
Yeah, well, the value is 100% on Swanson. I said I don't know if I'd get to it from a betting perspective. It seems like the line's going the other way, to be honest. So I think you can honestly wait and see the scales. If Swanson comes in and looks in real good shape and has no issues making weight, I'll bet the dog for sure.
Fair enough. Wait for the scales. We'll take a look at Swanson that way.
And to say, I'm not usually one who puts value on the weight where people are like, oh, the guy looks shitty on the scales, but he's made the same weight 10 times. That doesn't mean anything to me. But if you're dropping down in weights, yeah, this, if he shows up looking like dog shit, you're going to be a little bit worrisome if you place that bet in advance.
And yeah, he could even come in looking like dog shit, still hydrate well and get back to it and be fine. But if he comes in looking good, that leaves you confident. Definitely.
That's right.
Next one, I think you've now boosted up my thought, and I think I'm going to go with Brendan Royval as one of the dog picks. There's going to be a tandem dog pick, at least in my opinion. If not, if you don't fully agree with the Malkoun side as a official play, then we'll have Brendan Royval as the dog for the podcast. And it's plays a little bit different than some other podcasts that are running with Malkoun as the dog. But Royval coming in at, what is he, plus 160 right now?
Plus 200.
Oh, plus 200 dog.
Yeah,
sorry. That's right. Plus 200 dog, definitely some value there. Jordan Wright, Dusko Dorovic. I mean, the under 1.5. Jordan Wright by knockout in round one is what? We don't have that out yet. It's probably going to sit around what, plus?
It's plus 600? 900 on Bet Online.
Plus 900. I mean, sure. I'm okay with a prop like that because, I mean, even a broken clock is right. Twice a day. Next, Misha Serkinov. That's a stay off for me because I have a homer hat on for that one, and I really want to see the guy, no matter where this goes from here, 3-fight losing streak. I want to see him win. And if I want to see him win, I'm staying away from it. He could get the sub. He could get knocked out. What do you take?
I'm taking Alonzo by KO, but I think violence is the answer on that one.
Okay. Martinez is going to be a stay off of Brandon Davis because we both saw too many variables in that one. Victor Henry by KO or decision is probably going to be too chalky. Maybe finding a late finish, like third round or decision, might be a little bit more value. They may give me some plus money on that one. Maybe you want to take a look at that one, but I mean, he could probably finish the Sunsao early if he starts to get some volume together on him, just because it's a, you know what, though, I'm going to catch myself here. I would promise myself that I would no longer place opinion or bet based on hard fades because hard fades are getting me in trouble. So I'm definitely going to actually stay off that one because although I think Sunsao gets put out to pasture, I'm not going to try to find an angle on an already juiced Victor Henry. Jacob Malkoun coming in, I think, at right now, and I could be wrong again, I think he's plus 130 sitting at right now. People are starting to come in on Malkoun. I think he's the side. But it could go either way. If you love grappling, get ready for this one because it should be a grappler's delight. I think it's going to play out on the floor. I don't see it playing out on the feet. like sometimes you see when grapplers cancel each other out. Joe Anderson Brito, Lucas Almeida, we don't have an angle. Pedro Rodriguez, Sam Hughes, not much of an angle, but I'm leaning more Rodriguez on this, but Sam Hughes is very live, so stay away. Vergara and Tyra, what are you thinking on this one? You're going to lean with the dog?
Yeah, I'll lean with Vergara.
Okay, so we got some dogs in play, which is awesome. For me, I might look at this on both sides of it and see if we can find a hedge option and dig in to find some value on this one. I think it's going to be one where you could definitely find win conditions on both sides. I don't see Tyra knocking out Vergara. He's durable, and I just don't see that as a win condition for Tyra. I think it's going to be a submission or decision. Vergara could knock him out and or submit him, although Tetsuro has never lost, never been finished. Jackson and Rodriguez, I don't know, man. I mean, those guys would kick my ass, but anyway. All right, we found our spots, and it is getting late. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody in Canada. On top of that, I'm wearing my black Blue Jays. Rest in peace, Blue Jays.
Yeah, they really turned into the
one thing that
Maple
is
Leafs.
very consistent in their logo is the maple leaf. The maple leaf, and we know what they do when they have leads.
8-1, man.
Let's go Buffalo, and we'll roll with the Buffalo Bills moving forward. So
I'm just saying before we get off, I'm actually mad about that because I was having Thanksgiving dinner and my dad was over at my place, and we were watching the game, and like they were 8-1, and they had the bases loaded. I'm like, I'm gonna bet they're gonna win. And it was literally plus 1900. My dad's like, "No, man, Blue Jays are gonna win. Don't waste your money." I'm like, "You motherfucker!" I literally had my phone out, placing a $20 bet. My dad's like, "Don't do it. You're wasting money."
With their bullpen, man, those were the smart plays against the Blue Jays all the time. You bet late, you live bet them late if they're ahead because they blow leads because they don't have the pitching to continue through the end of the game. And I mean, in this case, it wasn't really. It was early. It was the starting pitcher, but man, it hurt this household anyways. There was some broken spirits in this household, but we move on to the Maple Leafs. We move on to the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills going to win the Super Bowl this year. What do you think? I'm a Bills fan, so I've lived through four
I'm a big football guy.
in a row.
Do not know. Chiefs are losing right now, though.
And was a small child in the loss to the Giants, but I remember the Cowboys losses, and let's go Buffalo. But anyways, on that note, I know that it is late. You got to go. I got to go. We will digress here. We love to find angles. We love to look at tape and try to line your pockets while lining ours. And you know what we got here is
failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
To me, the Lions are the #1 rankings out there. Those guys are the ones who really do their homework. You know what I mean?
But this fight, I'm telling you, it's a flip of a coin.
He did not tap.
Let's go!
Let's go!